Hello, I am Jaina Parvin Khushbu, PS to the Ambassador Waliur Rahman, former Foreign Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Chairman Bangladesh Heritage Foundation. And I am with Professor Farhad Hossain, political analyst, commentator, work in different capacities in Bangladesh Awami League. And today I have come to take his interview for freedom fighting of Bangladesh in 1971. As a young fellow, Professor Farhad witnessed freedom fighting, and later on as a grown-up man he made a lot of study on our freedom fighting. I would like to ask some questions on the history of our freedom fighting, which are very important for our young generation to know. My first question is, sir, you had witness of our War of Liberation as a young fellow. Would you please tell us something about our War of Independence?
Thank you. Thank you. You have come to take my interview. It's a great privilege for me. I was taking some opportunities exactly to deliver interview, particularly on the War of Liberation. You know that I was a young fellow during the time. And very important thing is that my hometown is very adjacent to the Indian border. You know that any war is found intensified, any arms conflicts or arms skirmishes naturally is found intensified, particularly along the frontier line. Since our hometown is not far from the northeastern border of India, in 1971, the arms conflict between our freedom fighters and Pakistani occupying army was intensified particularly. And for your information, I would like to tell you that I am from Brahmanbaria, a border adjacent district of Bangladesh, you know, and Brahmanbaria is located particularly to the adjacent of northeastern Indian border. Yeah. So as a young boy, I witnessed the intensified arms conflict between the Pakistan occupying army and our freedom fighters. Yes. It was really intensified, you know, and every day we had to hear the sound, very harsh sound of the brush fire of machine guns, SLR, SMG. And very important, interesting matter is that before the War of Liberation, we did not know the names of these sort of arms like machine gun, LMG, SLR, yes, SMG, stand gun, etc. And it was a very common picture, a common situation that we had to listen to the brush fire, exchange of fires between the freedom fighters and Pakistan army especially. And it was an everyday picture of fightings, particularly in the frontier line. So my experience is very clear. Though I was not so matured, but I was simply a boy. The primary school, I was a student of primary school, you know. But the incident was so intensified, so horrific, terrific, you know, that I still today, even after 48 years, I could recollect this sort of terrible memory, which has been exactly stamped in my sentiment, and through which I can exactly relate it still today.
Please tell us something about Operation Searchlight.
Thank you very much. It's a very important question because Operation Searchlight is a very, very heinous measure taken by Pakistan Army. Yes. By dint of which the Pakistani occupying army wanted to smash the Bengali nation. Operation Searchlight is a military action designed by Pakistani military junta exactly to subjugate the Bengali nations forever. Because you know that it is very important to know that in 1970s election, that was the first free franchise, adult franchise in Pakistan in 1970. And you know that Bangladesh Awami League, headed by Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, our father of the nation, owned landslide victory and was supposed to form the government to run the administration of Pakistan. And it was a supposed matter, you know. But the Pakistani leadership was not prepared exactly to transfer the power to Bengali, because they did not want to have the Bengali people, particularly installing in the office of the administration, okay, the offices of the administration, and not only that, they did not want Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman as their prime minister.
Yes.
And Bangabandhu used to know it. And the Pakistani military junta and high civil servants, feudal lords, these are the organs of Pakistan which controlled the Pakistani administration, particularly since its inception of the state of Pakistan after 1947, the civil administration was not in a position to continue for a long time. There was a long experience of Pakistani people to have the military administration. So military was not an armed force. The Pakistan state started treating military as an establishment. So Pakistani military establishment did not want to see the Bengali people in the power of the state.
Yeah.
And that is why when after the 1970s election, it was very clear that the Bengali people were going to have the power, administrative power of Pakistan. They wanted to subjugate the Bengali people, and that is why they designed a military action that is called Operation Searchlight. And Operation Searchlight, when it was placed before the military junta, and particularly I'd like to mention two names who were the governors of East Pakistan, one after another. The first one is Admiral Hossain, Vice Admiral Sir Ehsan, who was the governor of East Pakistan. He was asked by Yahya Khan for implementing Operation Searchlight to kill the people, to kill the Bengali people. But I think that Vice Admiral Hossain was a rational man. He was not mentally prepared exactly to operate or to implement Operation Searchlight. And that is why he had put his signature on the document of resignation. He resigned from his post and went to West Pakistan. He took the available flight and went to West Pakistan. And the military governor and then Sahibzada Yaqub Khan, Lieutenant General, who was appointed as the governor of East Pakistan, he was also asked for implementing the Operation Searchlight. He was also a rational man, I think so. He was a migrating man from India to Pakistan, He opted for Pakistan in 1947. He was one of the members of the Rampur royal family, And Admiral Hossain was also a migrating man from Hyderabad to Pakistan. They were a very rational man. And Sahibzada Yaqub Khan was not prepared exactly to implement this sort of heinous activities, the atrocious activities to kill the innocent people under Operation Searchlight. He also put his signature on the document. He put his signature on the document. He resigned. He expressed his inability or incapacity exactly to implement this sort of atrocious scheme to kill the innocent people. And then another person was chosen who is known in the history of Pakistan as a butcher of Balochistan.
Oh, Balochistan.
As a butcher of Balochistan. The Baloch people uprised in 1970. They wanted to have the self-determination, exactly to save themselves from the atrocious activities, from the colonial sentiment of the Punjabi. Exactly, the Punjabi oligarchy started imposing so many strategies on the common people of Pakistan. Exactly, Punjabis were influential in trade, commerce, military, in every establishment of Pakistani state. So Baloch people, they were also fed up to be subjugated at the hands of the Punjabi people, and that is why they raised their voice in 1970. And Tika Khan, then he was perhaps Major General. So he was notorious for his atrocious activity, and he was chosen by Pakistani establishment to subjugate the voice of the Baluch people. This Tika Khan was chosen exactly to implement the Operation Searchlight in East Pakistan, presently Bangladesh. And Tika Khan was appointed as military governor after Shahidjada Yaqub Khan, and he came from Rawalpindi to Dhaka. Yes, he had flown from Rawalpindi to Dhaka and took the control and implemented Operation Searchlight, which was started by the order of Tika Khan and his associates like Major General Khadim Hussain Raja, Major Raufat Manali, and other high military officials of Pakistan during the time, who were exactly installing the position in Dhaka cantonment and other important cantonments of East Pakistan, presently Bangladesh. I'd like to mention the name of Major General Rahim, Major General Jamshed, Brigadier Jahangir. They were the main associates of implementing Operation Searchlight to kill the innocent people. And the Operation Searchlight was started from 25th March 1971. You know? And the whole night, they continued this operation and started killing even the innocent professors of Dhaka, teachers of Dhaka University, were not spared at all. The innocent students who were just sleeping in different student hostels. Particularly, I'd like to mention the hostel Jagannath Hall, and Iqbal Hall, presently known as Jorulok Hall. The students were innocent. They were quite ignorant about the implementation of Operation Searchlight. The Pakistan occupying army suddenly attacked several student hostels, started killing. The outcry was going on all over the city, Dhaka city. And not only that, and to find out the people who were moving and tried to flee as well, they could not escape themselves, because they used very heavy lights to find out the people. Yes. That is called, I'd like to tell, very important thing is that Trisar Hawaii was being used by the Pakistani army exactly to point out or find out the people moving through the routes, so that they could exactly point them to shoot. And this is a kind of strategy of committing genocide. And definitely, the genocide was continued during whole 9 months during the War of Liberation. The genocide the world people had ever seen after the Second World War. And this is called Operation Searchlight. And in the initial stage, it was confined in the city of Dhaka. But gradually, Operation Searchlight was expanded Military action was expanded in the name of Operation Searchlight all over the country, within East Pakistan, presently Bangladesh. And people of different capacities, like professors, engineers, doctors, journalists, lawyers, who made the ample contribution to the nation building, to the nation building, to the building of the Bengali nation, had been killed in a sterile form, in a very, very atrocious form. The world had ever seen after the Second World War, how the innocent people were being killed in the concentration camp by Hitler's troops. And perhaps you have understood the grievance of the Operation Searchlight the Bengali people had faced in 1971.
Thanks for your beautiful explanation. It will be very helpful for our next generation.
Thank you very much.
Tell us something about the declaration of our independence.
Very important question.
Yes.
You know that the history of the Declaration of Independence of Bangladesh had been fabricated, had been distorted after the brutal killing of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. in 15th August 1975.
Yes.
But there is a proverb, "Aman ki man ishare kafi," you know. You know that the historic speech Bangabandhu exactly delivered in 7th March 1971 in the historic Sarwardi Uddan. Then it was Racecourse Maidan, you know. If you look at or if you listen to the speech delivered by Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, you can easily anticipate that he had made the Declaration of Independence through his historic speech in 1971, 7th March. This is very clear. Intelligent people easily could anticipate that Bangabandhu had given exactly the Declaration of War of Independence, because he exactly directed the people to be prepared by the arms and ammunitions exactly which they had. It might be the primitive arms and ammunitions, okay, indigenous arms and ammunitions. He exactly made an address to the whole nation from the historic Sarwardi Uddan. He called everybody to be prepared exactly for independence, and that was the Declaration of War of Independence. Another very important thing is that you know that in 25th March, that when the crackdown was going on, after 12 p.m., it was 26th March, and Bangabandhu could hear that the atrocious killing of the Pakistan army had been going on in the city of Dhaka. He started getting information about the atrocious killing of Pakistan army in Dhaka. Innocent people have been killed at the hands of the Pakistani occupying army. He exactly drafted the Declaration of Independence and he cleared it through wireless. And it was received by the leadership of Army leadership of Chittagong and Mr. Hannan, late Mr. Hannan, who was then the secretary of Chittagong Awami League, who exactly caught this message.
Abdul Hannan Chaudhary.
Abdul Hannan, no Chaudhary, Mr. Abdul Hannan, who exactly, since the next day, he started exactly delivering this in different ways so that he could exactly communicate the Declaration of Independence of our father of the nation, which he exactly declared in 26th March 1971 before being arrested by Pakistan Army. So the Declaration of Independence was clearly declared by our father of the nation before his being arrested exactly at the hand of Pakistan Army. You know that he was taken from his Dhanmondi's house and he was taken to the cantonment and then he was carried by an aircraft from Dhaka to Rawalpindi, and from Rawalpindi he was confined in a particular prison in Gujranwala, Shihala prison in Punjab, you know, Shihala prison. He was confined for 9 months. But Bangabandhu made all arrangements to prepare the whole nation for fighting for independence. He made the clearance of the independence. He used to know what might be happening in the coming days. And that is why he left nothing unturned. And that is why he declared the independence with a strong manifestation and made the appeal to the common people to prepare for fighting for independence. So I think that there should not be any confusion about the Declaration of Independence. It should be clarified and this history should be reciprocated to our young generation. I think that young generation should know the real history about the War of Independence from nock and corner.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. My next question is, what was the importance of 6 points?
Thank you. Very important question. And I think that the young generation of our nation should know the importance of 6 points. 6 points is like the Magna Carta of England. 6 point might be called or must be called the document of liberation of the Bengali people. And before going to the explanation of 6 points, I'd like to tell something. why and how Bangabandhu placed 6 points. And what was the reason? Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman used to know that the Bengali people definitely were the non-regimental people. They did not have experience properly about the regimental affairs. You know that from the British imperial power, the Bengali people were had been facing disparity, particularly in recruitment in military, and it was a propaganda, negative propaganda against the Bengali people, that they were not physically qualified, they were not courageous people, they are not suitable for the recruitment in military, and that is why the British imperial power did not take any sort of initiative for the Bengali people to be recruited in British Indian Army. Bengali people definitely, naturally, they're the peace-loving people. So, for Bengali people, it was really tough to face a very regular army like Pakistani army. Bangabandhu used to know it. And that is why he wanted to avoid the arms conflict. Arms conflict with Pakistani army, because the Bengali people are not equipped with arms and ammunitions at all. And because of the disparity, the exploitation faced by the Bengali people since the British Raj up to Pakistan, that means up to 1971. The Bengali people had been exploited in different ways, in economy, in employment, in trade and commerce, in education, in everything. They were not the privileged people, and they were not in a position in every capacity to face the Pakistan army. So it was a serious problem and setback for Bengali people to face the Pakistan army equipped with sophisticated arms and ammunitions. And that is why he wanted to have the self-determination of the Bengali people by a certain kind of documents. And that is why Bangabandhu took a strategy to achieve a self-determination. So, papers and documents. And resulting that, he submitted 6 points. I'd like to explain what is 6 points in a very brief way. 6 points means Pakistan shall be a federating unit, according to the constitution, with the spirit of Lahore Resolution. And every federating unit, 2 units, West Pakistan and East Pakistan, they will have their self-determination. And this federating unit will be based on free adult franchise. The first. And second one is that only the 2 things will be vested in the hands of the federal government, and other things will be handled, other residue subjects will be handled by the federating units, like collection of taxes, education, trade and commerce, etc., etc. Only defense and foreign affairs shall be handled by the federal government. Number 3, the collection of taxes. The power of collection of taxes shall be vested in the hands of the federating unit. And from the collection of taxes, 1 portion shall be submitted to the treasury of the federal government in order to bear the expenditure of the federal government. And other collections shall be used by the benefit of the people of the federating units. Yes? And the other point among 6 points is 2 separate currencies shall be issued for the 2 units of Pakistan. But these 2 currencies shall be easily convertible for the 2 units. And thing is that the 2 other points is that 2 currencies, 2 accounts shall be initiated, particularly for collecting foreign exchange. And the collection of the foreign exchange shall be distributed according to the ratio among the two units. Very important thing is that Pakistan must have, yes, other thing is that Bangabandhu had given a certain kind of stress, particularly on a very important point among the 6 points, that is, within Pakistan, present Bangladesh should have a separate paramilitary, separate militia, and there is a history behind this. History is very clear that you know that there was an arms conflict between India and Pakistan in 1965. And Pakistan federal government invested all forces to save within West Pakistan. And Pakistan government did not employ a single troop in the eastern border to save within East Pakistan, present Bangladesh. And the war of 1965 continued 17 days. And total 17 days, it was an exclusive war, arms conflict between the two countries, India and Pakistan. And within East Pakistan, present Bangladesh was totally insecure. And after the war, it was a strong repercussion among the common people. Bangabandhu took this issue very seriously. He could feel insecure for his countrymen, particularly the people of within East Pakistan, present Bangladesh. You know? And that is why, since then, Bangabandhu was obsessed with a sense of importance, exactly particularly importance to our own security, to our own defense. And that is why, in 6 points, he mentioned that within East Pakistan, present Bangladesh should have the separate military, paramilitary forces. And it was very important, you know. This is a very important. Bangabandhu had taken this bitter experience from the arms conflict in the war of 1965 between India and Pakistan. This is very important. And other thing is that, and these are, in a very brief way, the 6 points. You know, if you analyze the 6 points with a very pencil board, you can find out that the clear self-determination is vested particularly in the 6 points, by dint of which Bangabandhu would be able to liberate our country without facing any sort of arms conflict. It was the target. And Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was determined that he would win the election if the election would be held. And it was proved in the election of 1970. Okay?
Yeah.
You know that Awami League had owned 167 seats in Pakistan Gana Parishad, and he had exactly attained the clear majority by his party Awami League. Awami League owned the landslide victory under the veteran leadership of Bangabandhu, and he was supposed to form the government exactly in Islamabad. Though he was not mentally prepared to take his office in Islamabad, he was always mentally prepared to take his office in Dhaka, because his only target exactly to liberate Bangladesh. So Bangabandhu wanted to avoid arms skirmishes, arms conflict with West Pakistan military, because Bengali people are not exactly equipped with arms and demolitions. And to save the property and lives of the Bengali people, he exactly served the 6 points. That was the main target, and that is why today the political scientists, the political analysts could clearly exactly manifest one thing, that the 6 points definitely was a document of Bengali liberation, of the document of the liberation of the Bengali people, like the Magna Carta for the English people. That is very important. So the importance of 6 points is very high, particularly in our history of war of liberation, history of our liberation, definitely.
Thank you, Professor Sir. My next question is, tell us something about Bangabandhu, the father of the nation. How did he organize a war of liberation?
Yes, from time to time, very frequently, one thing has come to my mind. I have studied about his life. And from my study, I can exactly make a conclusion that Bangabandhu had come. Bangabandhu had come to the world. It took birth only to liberate the Bengali nation. Because if you look at the whole political life of Bangabandhu, one thing will be clear to you, that he was always obsessed of thinking the people of his own country, people of Bangladesh. And he was shocked to see the miseries, sufferings, persecutions of the Bengali people. And that is why his whole political activities were strictly motivated by one objective, and it was to achieve the independence of Bangladesh. And that is why I would like to tell one single sentence, that without Gandhi, without Nehru, even without Mr. Jinnah, India and Pakistan could have been the independent dominions. But I think that without Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the present independent Bangladesh was simply an impossibility, an impossible phenomenon. And I fervently believe that without Bangabandhu, it was simply impossible by any leader exactly to bring the whole nations under a single umbrella. Because Bangabandhu was the only leader who could understand, who could read the minds of the people. People from the grassroots level to the upper level,
Yeah.
And he was a man having a very unique quality to mix with the working people. And he was a man of strong energy and a very strong commitment to determination. And that is why once upon a time, in order to organize the whole Bengali nation, he traveled from Tiknap to Tetolia, and he traveled every corner of Bangladesh to organize the people, speak about the necessity of economic emancipation, emancipation of education, emancipation of poverty. And that was his slogan, that was his sermon to the common people. And that is why Bangabandhu used to go to every part of the country, people of the grassroots level. And the routes and communications was not so developed in East Pakistan, present Bangladesh. He had to go by walk, by boat, by indigenous vehicles, His strong commitment, determination to the nation, to liberate them, exactly stimulated him to go knock and corner everywhere in Bangladesh to organize the people. He was young, energetic, and deeply committed. And that is why he was a man of highest sense of patriotism. And that is why it was possible on his part to organize the whole people, in every respect, in every capacity. The people of working class, the people of different professions like professors, engineers, doctors, people working in factories, people are cultivating lands, etc., etc. He was the only man, exactly, who had been able to bring all levels of people under a single umbrella with one single issue and agenda, that is independence. Mr. A.K. Solardi, his political mentor, yes?
Yes.
And I'd like to I'd like to tell something about him with great respect.
Yes.
That he was not in a position to go to the knock and corner, the village areas. Okay?
Yeah.
He was not in a position because he was too old. Maulana Bashani, he was too much old.
Yes, yes.
And Shri Bangla Fazlul Haq, he was simply a very, very old man during the time.
Yes.
It was Bangabandhu who was young, energetic, and deeply committed, and obsessed with one single agenda, that is independence. And that is why it had been possible on his part to bring the whole Bengali nation exactly under a single umbrella with a single agenda of independence.
Thank you so much. My last question is, we want to know about the role of India in our War of Liberation in 1971.
Yes, we should mention the role of India in our War of Independence. During the time, the Indian government was headed by Mrs. Indira Gandhi. And today I would like to pay my homage and tribute to that great leader of India, Mrs. Gandhi. And he could exactly feel the grievous situation which had been exactly created for Operation Searchlight, killing the innocent people all over Bangladesh. He took it in a very serious manner.
Yes.
And he thought that it was a sole duty to save the innocent people. And that is why for the first time in the inception of the war, after 25th March 1971 and 26th March 1971, Indian government had taken the initiative to open the border. For opening the Indian border, you know that it was possible for the refugees to go